And we're live. Hey guys, welcome back to Digital Classroom, the restart of the restart. Now what went wrong? We have this beautiful location outside, which we planned for today. It's our own studio, and we even did some weed whacking. In other words, we took away some of the stuff that doesn't belong there. The weeds, that's why it's called weed whacking, of course. And then, you don't believe it, we got a lot of thunder. And one of our black magics actually said, poof, and it was gone. So we now have to do it with one camera. The other black magic looks a little bit black, but it's a black magic. But there's no more magic in that black magic, so they probably have to repair it. So thunderstorms, yay, go. No, that was Thunderbirds, right? Thunderbirds go, yeah. No. So anyway, what is Digital Classroom? Digital Classroom, when it works, is a live broadcast straight from our studio in Emmeloord. Now, it's a cross between a workshop and an instructional video. Now, during a workshop, you have a lot of interaction with the attendees. And during an instructional video, you don't, but you can rewind. Now, in Digital Classroom, I won't go as in-depth as in an instructional video. So if you want to know everything, you have to go to the instructional videos. But during Digital Classroom, I will show you some shoots. Now, you get me on my worst today, because I'm stressed, because we had a lot of problems with black magic going up in boof, black. And we now have to switch everything over. And you know the saying we have in our studio? Don't bitch, but switch. In other words, if something doesn't work, we just change everything around. Now, we only were offline for 15 minutes. And in that time, we switched the whole studio around to doing a studio version of Digital Classroom. And you know what? This one is going to be awesome because we have an amazing model. And that's Ingrid. And I'm going to show you her in a moment. But first, Digital Classroom wasn't possible without the aid of our friends from BenQ and Rogue Expo Imaging. Now, BenQ actually already renewed their contract about 2 episodes ago. They were here and we signed all the contracts for that. And Rogue Expo Imaging, yay, they also renewed. So that means for the next year, you still have Digital Classroom. We try every month, but in essence, it's 10 times a year. So, we have a chat room online, and I don't believe there will be a lot of people online now because we switched our channel. But I think the people who are subscribed to our YouTube channel will get a message that, hey, Frank is live. So let's hope that that works out. So let's bring in our model. Ingrid, how are you?
Good.
I always love Ingrid. She looks so bubbly and fine. You have a funny dance, right? Oh, you already did it.
I already did it.
Yeah, sorry guys, that's not online anymore. But she did a funny dance. And the funny dance was pretty, well, funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the magic that now misses in my black magic. So, how are you feeling today?
Dry, warm.
Dry and warm, yeah. You already dried up from outside. Yeah. No, you didn't dry up. You're not that old, right?
No.
No, that's very bad, you guys. Sorry, but I'm Dutch. So what we're going to do now is we actually made our own blue heaven. How do you like that?
I love it.
You love blue heaven?
I love it.
Okay, awesome. Now I hope that doesn't mean anything wrong, by the way. Sometimes I say stuff and I didn't look it up online, so sorry for that. So can you please stand there? And now the first thing you always do during a photo shoot is you have to have a concept, an idea. And I don't have one at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to build it. Now for you guys, this is actually pretty cool to see. Because normally something is prepared. Now I hate to prepare my workshops. But in essence, my workshops are of course prepared. I know I'm going to go to a location. I know I have with me small strobes, quadras, ranges, or something else. In this case, we arranged everything for an outside photo shoot. So, everything I thought I was going to do is now down the drain, literally, with the rain. So I have to do something completely new. And while I'm talking to you guys, I also have to think about what I'm going to do. So we saw this light set up, and you know there's this photographer out there called, now I lost her name. That's awesome. But anyway, as soon as you see the images, you know exactly who I mean. She shot all these images with monkeys and children that cried. Jill Greenberg does, I think, all her retouching. And now probably say something completely different because maybe Jill Greenberg is the photographer. I don't know. But let's make a setup that looks a little bit similar to that. But of course, with a twist. Now, one of the things that I don't like to do is shoot with flat lighting. Now, we're going to set up this first shot just with flat lighting. Now, why don't I like flat lighting? Very simple. If you look at lighting, you need to have three-dimensionality. Because three-dimensionality gives you the sense of being there, the sense of 3D, right? And in our life, everything is 3D. So imagine a ball in front of a white background and you have 2 strobes. The ball is just white. Now, if you take away one strobe and you put one strobe to the side, you get this nice light fall off, meaning you get three-dimensionality. Now, with flat lighting, it's often so that the light source is in front of the model, hitting the model, and well, it just doesn't look nice. Frank, show us. Yes, I will. So we're going to set up this light, aim at our model, and in this case, I'm using a large 1.5 meter Octa from Elinchrom, and because we only have one camera, I'm going to turn it around so you guys can see what we do with this. As you can see, there's no middle diffuser. And that's because I love to have that crisp quality of light. And because everything in the middle is silver, I get that crisp quality of light by taking out both the middle diffuser and the front diffuser. Oh man, that's really nice to say. Okay, so first we're going to turn off all the other lights to show you what we're going to do. And again, we only have one camera left, so that means that Anouk has to follow me around a little bit. So this episode of quite frankly, of Digital Classroom can be a little bit shaky. So take your pills and make sure that you don't get seasick. Hey Anouk. Hey. So we're having fun, right? And that's the most important thing. Okay, so raise this one a little bit. And what I'm now doing is I'm actually making sure that I can fit under and shoot the model. Now don't raise it too far, because if I raise it too far, you will get nasty shadows underneath. And don't clap the microphone, Frank. Okay, I know. So can you move a little bit closer to me? Awesome, a little bit that way. Great, you see that? You can control your model. Now the fun thing is a lot of people have problems with controlling their models. Not that they jump around the studio, but often they don't know what to do with their models. They will go like, okay, can you move to the left? Can you move to the right? The problem is if you say to a model, move to the left, her left is actually my right, right? So if I say go to the right, she will actually go left because her left is my right, right? Now you don't want to do that because if you have a smart model, she knows that my left is her right. So when I tell her to go right, she will actually go right because she knows my left is her right, right? Yeah, now if you have a smart model and a smart photographer, that doesn't work because she will go everywhere. So the fun part is move a little bit that way, move a little bit that way, tilt your head, just move your hands and it will work great, right? You're having fun, right?
Yeah, I am.
That's the most important thing, have fun during a photo shoot, even if everything goes wrong. And yeah, okay, a little bit closer, there you go. Now the first thing, of course, you have to do is set up your lighting. If you want to look like a professional, you have to of course use something called a light meter. Now don't use a light meter if you don't know how it works, because that makes you actually look very dumb. So make sure you check out our video on the light meter, that you know how it works. So I'm holding my light meter here and I'm using a Psyconic 758. Now the 758 is in my opinion one of the best light meters out there. It doesn't have the fancy OLED display or the touch or the help functions, but it runs forever on a battery, and as soon as I power it up, it's ready to go. So I'm on ISO 100, I'm going to go to my model, and now what you have to remember about light metering is this is an incident meter, meaning it meters the light falling on the meter. So if I want, let's say, the front of my model's face correctly lit, I will place my light meter like this. It doesn't matter if my light source is over there and the camera is over there or there. If I want this part correctly lit, I hold it like this. If I want this part correctly lit, I hold it like this. Now some people say you have to meter towards the camera or towards the light source. Now in 99% of the cases you meter indeed towards the light source. In the studio that's almost always true. But outside, let's say the sun is behind your model, you're shooting from there, and you want to make sure that this part of the face is correctly lit. In that case you just hold it like this. Her back will be totally blown out by the sun and the front will be nicely and properly exposed. So that's what an incident meter reading does. So I'm going to hold it in front of my model, arm's length, make sure I don't block the light. And of course that doesn't work too. I know what's going on here. It just hates me. There we go. 8.07. Now the cool thing about the light meter is it tells you exactly how to set up your camera. Now I hear you guys going like, Frank, there's no 8.07 on my camera. Yeah, I know, there isn't. But you have to remember this, the light meter is set up in 1/10 of an f-stop, meaning it will show the full f-stops and the tenths of f-stops between. So if you go from f8 to f11, in between are f8.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if I see f8.07, I know I'm almost at f11, 1/3 of an f-stop down. So that will be f10. If that goes too fast, remember your camera is set up on 1/3 of an f-stop, meaning you go from f8 to 8.3, which is f9, to 8.6, which is f10, to f11. So that's a little bit tricky, but that's where we have the video for the light meter for. And I'm going to show you that commercial later on, as soon as we're going to do the retouching, so not now. Okay, so f8.07. So let's go to f11, just for fun. 1, 2, 3. Now don't start shouting to your strobes at home, because they won't raise the power. I have a little button over here in which I can raise the power. So, meter again. And now we're on f11. Now f11 is pretty cool, because now I have a nice shallow depth of field if I shoot on 70 mil. And it's still reasonably sharp, meaning her eyes will be sharp, her ears will be sharp, and after that it will slowly fall off. Now if you shoot on a wider angle, you will need a lower aperture, meaning you need to shoot more wide open to get the same depth of field. If you move closer to the model and you use a longer lens, the depth of field will fall off quicker. This is what we also sometimes call the circle of confusion, or the focus fall off, depending on what you want to do. Okay, so let's grab the camera and make sure that all the settings are correct, and we're going to make one shot with just the flat lighting. Okay, so on f11, ISO 100, 100th of a second, and let me do this very carefully that it doesn't come off. There we go. Awesome. And you see the image coming in, and as you can see, it's pretty boring. It's perfectly exposed because you don't see any problems in her clothing. It doesn't blow out, but to be totally honest, I just hate the shot. For me, it's way too flat. I do like the shadow in the back. No, I don't. You can say I like the shadow in the back. No, I don't, because it doesn't supposed to be there. Now, how do you take away that shadow? Well, this is very easy. Always remember that when, for example, you shoot somebody with glasses, you have the angle of incidence is the angle of reflection, or the other way around. I always mess that up. For you Dutch guys, de hoek van inval is de hoek van uitval. Yeah, that's Dutch. My Dutch is actually pretty much better than my English, but you already figured it out. Don't destroy my studio, dear intern. Thank you. So what will happen is the same thing happens for shadows. Now if this is my light source, I can actually draw a line and I can exactly determine where my shadow will be. So if I shoot from a lower angle, and in a moment I will grab my chair for that, you will see that the shadow is actually less of a problem. So when I'm shooting from eyes height, the shadow is straight behind my model. When I'm shooting from a lower angle, the shadow is actually gone. And this is true because I'm actually shooting up, meaning the shadow is gone. Now this sounds very simple, and some guys will probably say, man, really? Do you have to explain that? For some photographers, it's very, very hard to understand how that angle works. So that's why we show you guys. Okay, let's take this out. Okay, so do you like the shot? Don't say yes. Nah. So the first thing we want to do is create some separation on the background. Now, to get some separation on the background, we're going to use a very simple trick, which they already did in the old times. Put a strobe on it. So we're going to take this D-light, and we're going to aim this at our background. And in the D-light, there is actually a grid. Now, a grid channels the light, and it makes sure that the light travels straight through the grid, so you get a nice round shape on the background. Okay, I have to check if everything is still good online, Annemiek, because I see some hectic movements behind me, and that always makes me nervous. Yeah. Everything is okay? Awesome.
Always nice.
Okay, so we have a light on the background. Now some people ask me, do you meter the light on the background? Yes and no. If I really know what I want to do, I will meter the light on the background, but most of the time my accent lights and the light on the background is actually like cooking. It's that final ingredient. It's that making the spice, making sure that everything looks nice. So I don't meter my background light. I just want to make it interesting. Brian, can you bring my chair, please? Because I'm an old man, I have to sit down, man. Now, that sounds like a joke, and it actually is, Although, well, 45, is that old? Nah, I don't know. But if you're in the studio, you can of course always shoot like this. And you go through your knees and through your back and you go, oh yeah, I can shoot it. But if you do that all the time, every day, at one point you will go home and you go like, hello. And your wife goes like, what's the problem? Oh yeah, I'm stuck. Because you only have one back. So make sure you buy something like this. This is a barber's chair. You can just sit down on it, it has wheels. And if you have two, you can do a race in the studio with your models. What did you do? Haha! Awesome! I love her smiles. And this looks totally different. So now we have a nice separation on the background. Yeah, but I still miss something. You know, it's still a little bit flat for my taste. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use something called accent lights. So I'm going to use 2 accent lights from the side. And for that, boys and girls, we have 2 ELCs with strip lights. And also for these, I start out on full power. And I'm going to place them pretty close to the model. There we go. I'm going to turn that one on. Very nice. Turn it all the way up. And this one can be a little bit closer to the model. Is it all the way up?
Yes.
Okay. Watch out, boys and girls. He's going to be a new photographer. He sees all the pretty girls and he goes like, I want to be a photographer. Then he sees all the work that he does and he says, I don't want to be a photographer. Then he sees the pretty girls and he goes, I want to be a photographer. I don't know. Maybe one day. Okay, let's take the camera again and sit down. Are you ready?
I am.
And again, I didn't meter this because this is actually, again, just getting the taste and just see how it looks. And I actually like it. I don't want the light to be too much in front of her nose. Now, sometimes if you place the lights a little bit too far to the front, it will actually create these really nasty nose areas. And you don't want that. So we aim it a little bit more to the back and make sure that at that point you only create that nice accent lights. Okay, let's do a few different poses. Awesome. Nice. Chin down just a little bit because we don't want the reflections of the softbox in. Chin up a little bit because we want the reflections of the softbox in. Yeah, there we go. A little bit more. There we go. A little bit down. Awesome. Great. Chin down just a little bit. Really nice. Great shots. Awesome. Okay, final shot. One more. Okay, final shot. And another final shot. Don't laugh. Keep serious, serious, serious. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. Whatever you do, don't laugh. Don't. See, it's coming, yeah? No? Oh, mice, yes, there we go. Ah, finally. One of the important things is just keep playing with your model. So there we go. Great. Really nice. Chin down just a little bit. Can you play with your hair a little bit? Just pull it out. No, don't pull it out, but pull it to the side. Yes, like that. Just pull it a little bit more, like Pippi Langstrumpf. Scream a little bit. 1, 2, 3, go. Wah! 1, 2, 3, go. Nice. And just play. Great. That's cool. Do it again. 1, 2, 3, go. Great. 1, 2, 3, go. Nice. Okay, so what is the most important thing that you can learn from working with a model? Is the model always has to be at ease during a photo shoot. Now, I do several things to make her at ease. First, I play the music that my model likes. Not at the moment, of course, because you have to listen to me. The other thing is I play with the model. I constantly let her go through different emotions. Shout, scream, be angry, be happy, don't cry. And sometimes when I don't want him to laugh, I'll tell him be really serious and I will start shooting. Now there are those moments where I do want him to laugh, but I don't want to laugh like this. No, I don't want that. I want that real spontaneous, big smile. So what I do is I will actually tell him, don't laugh. Don't laugh. Don't you even think about it. Don't. And I see you guys already starting to laugh. See, it works. See, it really works. And at that point, the model will actually start bursting into tears of laughter. And that's when you shoot. And then you get that really nice shot. Now, there's one more thing, and that's very important. You know sports? if you tell yourself you have to, for example, I love rowing. If I have to do 8.5 kilometers rowing, I will go like, oh my, 8.5 kilometers, that's a long way to row. And I will be tired at around 5 and I will give up. Now if I tell myself, I only have to do 5, and I'm at 5, I'm still bursting with energy because I know I'm there. And then I tell myself, okay, 1,000 more. I will go 1,000 more. Now 1,000 more. Okay, 500. And then I will go like, come on, you can do better. You can do the 8.5 and I will do the 8.5. Now I know, of course, I'm going to do 8.5. But still my times are quicker when I do it like that. And that's what you saw during the photo shoot when I told my model, one more shot. This is the final shot, one more. Because every time I tell her this is the final shot, she will actually give a little bit more energy. She will just keep pushing. She will just, oh my, I'm totally enthusiastic. You see that? Because that's what you do. You make your model enthusiastic. And also in front of the camera, you have to be enthusiastic, but also behind. Now imagine this, a photographer going like this. Yep, 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 yep. We're not doing storage wars. We're doing something creative. So even if you feel, I don't want to say like crap, oh I just did, but you know what I mean, right? If you feel really bad, what you just do is you put up that shiny face and you be happy. And you just project it to your model. If you're angry, your model will be angry. And if you're totally not into it, it will show in your photo shoot. Now this one is also really important. This is the so-called color checker. It's not the new MacBook Pro, it's the color checker. You open it up and you give it to your model. There you go. Don't block the nice little squares. And now what you have to tell your model, I always do this, is that it's beta software and she has to make a funny face because otherwise it won't work. So let's see if she already knows the joke probably, but it's still fun. Okay, can you make a funny face, otherwise it won't work? Awesome. So that works pretty well. Okay, can you give it back? Or do you want to keep it? No, you want it back, okay. You can change for the next outfit and I'm going to do some Photoshop for you guys. And that means that we now, because we only have one camera, we have to change to my desk. But in between, I'm going to start a really nice commercial about our light meter video. Because light metering, as you guys know, is very important. And we have a video for that. So I'm going to start that now. Hey guys, my name is Frank Doorhof and I'm the author of the book Mastering the Model Shoot. Now you guys really like the book because we're getting a lot of rave reviews on Amazon and every other online store. So that actually triggered us to make a video series about the book. Now in the first video I will tell you everything about the light meter. Now in digital photography I think the light meter is the one thing that confuses people a lot. Shouldn't I use the histogram, Frank? Isn't there a meter inside the camera? Where do I point the meter? Towards the pretty girl? Towards the camera? Towards the light source? Where? There's a lot of confusion out there. Now in this video I will give you in more than 70 minutes all the insights out about the light meter. Calibrating, using incident and reflective, using a white background, how to keep details in the black, how to trigger the meter, where to point the meter. You will see everything very easily explained, but you will also see photo shoots including our model Manon. This is one of the videos if you're slightly interested in the light meter, or if you already have a light meter and you want to know everything about it, get this video. It's called Mastering the Model Shoot, the light meter, and it's the first video in a whole series that we're going to release in connection to our book Mastering the Model Shoot, and it's available now from our website.
Hey guys, my name is Frank Doorhof and I want to tell you today about the new 27-inch monitor from BenQ. Now, I'm a fashion photographer and I like my colors to be as they are in real life. Because I do my best to light my scene correctly, to style the scene, to have great makeup, great model. And then I see my images on a monitor and they look like, well, very dull. Well, that can happen to you too, and it will probably happen to you. You know the problem? Your monitor is not up to spec. Now, a monitor isn't a monitor. It's not something that just shows you the image. There are many different kinds of monitors. Like TV sets, your very expensive ones will give you better image quality, right? Now, with computer monitors, we always tell people it's all about the color space. For example, you have an sRGB monitor, or for the professionals, an Adobe RGB monitor. But if you don't know what that means, it doesn't make any sense. Now, let me make it simple. These are the colors in real life. So this is what you capture, right? It's great, it's vibrant, it's saturated, it's real life. Now, an sRGB monitor, it's really small color space. And that's okay for the web or for a laptop or just simply browsing your images. But if you want those more vibrant colors, you need something a little bit bigger. And that's an Adobe RGB color space. It's just a bigger color space. But it also means that the monitor has to show those colors. Now, in the past, those monitors were pretty expensive, especially a 27-inch. And BenQ really made me enthusiastic about this monitor because it's very affordable. It's delivered with a hood. So, in other words, it will cut down on your glare. And it's, well, I can give you all the bells and whistles about it. Like, it has all the inputs you need. It has all the specs. It's 99% Adobe RGB. But in the end, it all boils down to one thing: image quality. And I'm very picky, and as you can see, it's my main editing monitor at the moment. So I'm very enthusiastic about the monitor. If you are looking for a great monitor and you want something in the 27-inch, and you don't want to spend a whole lot of money on it, check out the new BenQ 27-inch. And for me, the most important thing is that it has a hardware calibration option, meaning you use their own software and you use a calibrator. And you can really make sure that the reds are as red as they are intended. Now, I know a lot of monitors come with this sheet, like, I'm calibrated in the factory. That's great, but it doesn't make any sense because your computer is different. So you have to recalibrate. Now, when do you recalibrate? I always recalibrate before a very important retouch session. For example, if I have to do a wedding or a fashion shoot, I will just let my monitor warm up for half an hour or an hour, do the calibration, and then I do my retouching. That way, I know for sure that my colors are accurate. So BenQ, job well done. I'm very happy with the monitor. And you guys, if you're in the market for a new monitor, check out the new BenQ series because they're really knocking one out of the ballpark with this series.
And we're back with Digital Classroom. Hey guys, you see this? I'm sitting behind my new workflow. Now, I don't know if you can call it workflow. I call it workflow, but it's actually my desk. Now, for years and years, I've been using this. This is a Wacom Intuos. Now, I don't know if the camera picks it up, but it's not supposed to be a mirror. So that means how many times I use this. And I love this. Now, a lot of people ask me about what should I buy, because I have a trackpad, I have a mouse, and I do some retouching. Yeah, well, you know, with a trackpad and a mouse, you can play games or you can browse the web, but for serious retouching, I don't believe that it is the perfect solution. Now, do remember, there are people who use their iPhones and their fingers to create art where I only can say, wow, it looks like a photo. But in essence, the trackpad and of course your mouse will look a little bit, well, old school as soon as you start using a tablet. Now, these tablets have one problem, and it's not really a problem, but it's eye-hand coordination. Now, when you do normal retouching, the monitor is of course over there, and normally it lays on the desk, guys, but you know that, right? So let's say this is your desk and you retouch. So you look at the screen, you retouch, and you retouch, and you retouch, and it goes okay for retouching. Now, as soon as you want to do some more specific work, like let's say, for example, drawing or compositing or really fine selections, or you want to do the dodge and burn tool really nice, this starts to become a little bit more tiresome. And you get a little bit of a problem with just setting everything up correctly. Now again, If you start out, get one of the very simple Intuos, and then when you grow up, I don't mean it like that. Normally we cut that out. But if you grow in your hobby, you can actually use the more Intuos Pros. This is a Cintiq. Now, this is a totally different setup. Now, what a Cintiq does, it makes it possible to draw directly on the screen. Now, at first I was a little bit hesitant to use one because I tried a few in the old times. No, you know what I mean, like a few years ago. And the problem I had was when I drew something, you would draw it and then the lines will follow a little bit later. And of course that had something to do with the speed of your computer, but also with the Intuos itself. With the Cintiq itself. This is the new generation. This is the 27-inch HD. And I have to be honest, I tried it out and it's now here for 2 days and I'm totally in love with it. It's very, very fast and it just gives way different options. Now, if you buy the Cintiq 27-inch, it normally comes with little feet on the back and it will lie flat on your desk. The problem is, and I'm going to show you this is the ergo stand. Now, if it's flat on your desk, you're actually sitting like this. And although this sounds pretty cool, it's very bad for your back and for your neck. Because what you have to do is if you know a little bit about ergonomics, you have to sit in front of something. That's why you have your screen in front of you. So if you're sitting like this, you will get a bad back. Now, the ergo stand isn't cheap. But in my opinion, it's worth every cent, because now what you can do is you can actually pick it up, bring it towards the desk, and do this. There we go. And now I have the perfect position. I can reach everywhere with my pen, and I'm looking straight on my screen. Now, especially if you have very focused glasses like me, I don't need glasses, but I only need glasses to see stuff that's close by. So the lower part of my glasses will actually give me a very sharp image if something is close by. The top part has no correction. So that means that my BenQ monitor in the back, in a minute I will talk about that, will actually be razor sharp. And because I'm looking on the bottom part of my glasses, the Cintiq is also razor sharp. And I'm having this great workspace. Now, a lot of people will use the Cintiq as their main monitor, and that's okay. It is a pretty good display. However, it's not perfect in color for me. And that's why I still use the BenQ in the back. The BenQ is a little bit more dynamic and it has more range in colors. Now, when I look at the Cintiq, I absolutely love the image quality, but I love to work really dark with high contrasts, and in all honesty, the darks can be pretty blocked up. And I just found that, especially when you look at an angle, and for example, if I retouch a little bit more like this, I find it more difficult on the Cintiq to see that last bit of detail in the blacks than on my BenQ. So I still use the BenQ as my main reference monitor. On the Cintiq, I do all the retouching, and again, this is one of the best things we bought in years. Now, some things will change your workflow, like if you get a new camera or if you get new strobes. This is not just changing your workflow, this is making it completely different. But now let's dive into Capture One and do some serious retouching. So Menno, switch over to Capture One. Okay guys, so we're now in Capture One, and it sounds like we started a new scene, right? You saw me shooting the color check. Now the reason for this is very simple. We have to make sure that all the color casts are gone. I want absolute the same quality of image, the same quality of light, not the same quality of light, come on Frank. I want to have the same light temperature, color temperature, that's it, over all the images. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the color picker over here, and I select pick white balance. Now in Lightroom this works exactly the same, but a lot of guys ask me, can you do more Capture One, because Lightroom is already discussed in so many other programs. So we decided to do a lot more Capture One for you guys. Don't get me wrong, I love Lightroom, I still use Lightroom a lot, and all my images live in Lightroom. Capture One is just used for capturing, for tethering, and for my raw conversion. So let's click here, and as you can see now something changed. Now let me do this a little bit different. So let's say that this is the image that you shot. The only thing you have to do is click here, and the color cast is gone. Now this is not perfect, by the way. if you use Lightroom, you can actually create a profile. And that profile also looks at all these squares and makes sure that all these squares are perfectly of what they're supposed to be. And that's the same as calibrating your monitor or calibrating your camera. So now what I have to do is select all my images, edit, select all, and I just have to do adjustments, copy and apply. And to apply. Now all my images now have the same color temperature. What you also see is that I still have the wrong name. I used cosplay. That of course is not correct. So what I have to do is File and then go to Batch Rename Images, and we're going to call this not Esther, we're going to call this Ingrid. And we're now on June 15, 2016. There we go. Do this before, oh sorry, I did something wrong. File, Batch Rename Images, Ingrid, and make sure you have two spaces here, otherwise it will be 2016 and immediately the numbers, and we don't want that. So reset name counter, and there we go. Now always do this before you start retouching and selecting, because otherwise you start retouching and the images have wrong names, and yeah, that's not nice. So you have to do everything over again or you can't find your images anymore. Okay, so officially we were gonna shoot outside. And this is actually where it went wrong, and we lost one of our Blackmagics due to the thunderstorm probably, because it's weird, it worked perfectly, it started thundering and my Blackmagic was gone. So what we did here, and I still want to retouch one of those images for you guys, and we're going to do a new digital classroom on outside soon, so don't worry. One of the images I really liked was actually this one. So we'll give this one 5 stars, and I want to retouch this for you anyway, just to show you what we do with an outside image. Okay, this is where everything went wrong and we went offline. Okay, so let's start with these images. Now this is where we set up, so we don't need those. And I'm only gonna select 1 or 2, so don't worry. There we go. Now you see how fast I go through my images? For me, an image really has to stand out and jump towards me with, oh man, this is the image, pick me, oh I love this one. And as soon as that happens, that's when I select my image. This one is also pretty cool, but just a little bit too funky. This one is also pretty nice. But I think the other one is better. Okay, now we have the color checker. Now I already selected sort on rating. Now in Lightroom you do exactly the same, of course. Okay, let's go to the start. And, oh, one moment. There we go. Okay, so the first image is the outside shot, and I want to retouch this for you guys, just to show you some tricks. Okay, the first thing is I've shot this on aperture priority mode. Now this gives me, in my opinion, the challenge to correct this. Because normally I use a light meter and I don't want to change anything about exposure or whatever, then I find that I did something wrong. But because I shot on AV mode, I'm always allowed to change a little bit with the exposures. And of course this is just a joke, guys. If you see something that you like more with changing the shadows or highlights, you just do it. Now I want a little bit of a surreal image, so I go for this. I really like that it sort of looks like an HDR shot, but it isn't. And don't get me wrong, I like HDR, but sometimes it looks more like highly destructive retouching. So I normally don't shoot a lot of HDR, and especially with moving models, it's a little bit difficult. Okay, so let's take this image and go into Photoshop. Now I programmed the express keys of the Wacom Cintiq to open up Photoshop straight from Capture One. But I have to make sure that the recipe over here, that's the gear, is on Frank to Photoshop. Now what it does, it copies my file, I'll show you. It makes a TIFF uncompressed Pro Photo 100% and it opens Adobe Photoshop. So let's press the button. And you see a little gear coming by here. And it's now processing and opening up Photoshop. Now, knowing my luck today, probably my computer will restart. No, I'm just kidding. Or not. No, it will be okay. Yeah. I keep you guys in anxiety, right? Well, I didn't open up Photoshop yet, so it takes a little bit longer, but I thought let's tease the guys a little bit. Okay, there we go. Now, the first thing I always do is I will go to 100%, and this is also a key I programmed on the Cintiq. And I will show you that again in a moment, because there's some really nice tricks. Now, if I'm in a hurry, like today, I will do the skin retouching as fast as possible.
Now, you can talk a lot about skin retouching. A lot of people do very mysterious about it and they go like, well, you have to do this and that. And sometimes I just think it's all a fairy tale. Like, you have to do skin retouching with a Wacom tablet that is drained in elven blood or whatever, and do 6 hours and only do it at 8 o'clock at night or whatever. But in essence, skin retouching can be very fast and very professionally, although the professionals will never tell you they did it that way. Now, the first thing I will do is we'll take away some of the areas here, because that's what I first do before I run my filter. So go to the clone tool, to the healing brush. I'll make that a little bit smaller. And what I do is I will sample over here and just take away. And this is how the Cintiq works so much better. Now maybe if the guys can switch the camera towards me now that you can see me working on the Cintiq for just a few seconds, you can see that working on the screen is just amazing. So just select. And as you can see, I'm using the remote that's here. And is the camera now on the Cintiq, guys? Okay. I can actually take away the remote from the USB and hold it in my hand, or I can place it here, here, and here. But most of the time I will have it here. Now what I did is you can use different settings for all these keys. So for example, I have undo, I have curves, saturation, and I have 100% fit on screen, and I program all the keys slightly differently. So in other words, in every application it has another option, but it still does the same thing. So for example, in Capture One, I use Command D to do my processing, or actually it runs the recipe. So this key in Capture One is actually Command D, open up Photoshop. In Lightroom, it's Command E. So I made in the settings from Wacom, I made for Lightroom a different keystroke, which actually means open it up, and it will actually go to Photoshop from there. So I'm going to place this back, and let's do some retouching. So if you can switch back to the main screen again. There we go. Okay, as soon as I did the preliminary, yeah, that's a nice word. That's a word I don't use every day. So when I do the first quick retouching, what I can now do is run a filter. And in my opinion, if you run a filter, it's always faster than just doing it with dodge and burn. And trust me, I can do dodge and burn, but it just takes way too much time. And if I hate one thing, it's wasting time. Okay, so the filter I'm going to use is Imagenomic Portraiture. And you have to buy it, but it's very, very much worth the money. So it opens up, and the first thing you do is you go to 100%, not 800, but 100. Now what I will do is I will go into the face, and as you can see here, this is total nuclear warfare blast. It looks terrible. So what you do is just select something. Let me go to smoothing medium. I think that looks a lot better. Then you press here, and you just select some skin tones. There we go. Okay, still looks pretty nasty. So press OK, and it will run it on a separate layer. Okay, there we go. But we don't want it on all the images, on all the areas, because here you can see that it also infects the hairs. So if I turn this off, you can see that it's everywhere, and we don't want that. Now the cool thing about Photoshop is you always work in layers. So what I can now do is select that top layer where actually that filter is on, and I can do a layer mask. And I can say hide all. Now as soon as I say hide all, it takes away the effect. And you see this black piece of paper, I always call it, over here. Now black hides and white actually shows. So what I can now do is take a brush and with white paint, and I can just paint the effect in everywhere where I want it. And make sure that my model looks totally clean and even. Now, I don't want to take away all her pores, I just want to make sure that she looks a little bit more smooth. And especially in color. So what we're actually doing is we're blending the colors of her skin. So you're not taking away too much of the pores, because then it looks really weird and she starts to shine and glow, and I don't know, it just doesn't look right. Okay, and make sure you also do this area. And don't forget her arms. Now if you want to make the brush a little bit bigger for this, that's okay. Not too big. There we go. You can do it a little bit more rough, because in all essence there's no skin tone besides these areas. Okay. And let's see how it looks on the hands. Okay, pretty cool. Okay, so now let's look at the face. And if it's too much, there's no problem at all. You just change the opacity. Start at 0 and slowly build it up until you see what you like. Now, if you don't like it too much over here, but you do like it on full blast over there, there's no problem at all too. Because you're not forced to use white and black, what you can actually also do is go here and choose, for example, a medium gray. And what you can now do is actually go under here and use the touch sensitivity of your tablet. That's why I said don't use mouses or trackpads. And you can actually take the effect a little bit away here, giving her back her natural pores. There we go. And especially outside, I think that's very important. Okay, let's go to fit on screen. There we go. The only problem we now have is over here. We see this, yeah, what is it? It's something from wood where our RV is normally standing. And I'm going to show you two methods to really simply take that out. Okay. The first thing I have to do is zoom out just a little bit. There we go. Now the first one is very simple. You go here to the marquee tool and you do the rectangular marquee. You select as much as possible towards your model. There you go. Now you do edit, transform, and you do scale. And what you do is you just drag the problem out. Oh, sorry. Layer. Yeah. Select. Press escape. There we go. So let's first do a layer flatten image. There we go. Okay, edit, transform, scale. And you just drag the problem away. There we go. In my opinion, this is the best option. What you can also do, and a lot of people love that one, is make the marquee a little bit smaller and press delete or backspace and use content aware fill. The problem with content aware fill is that it actually doesn't take over, in most cases, these areas perfectly. It does it pretty well, as you can see here, but it's not perfect. So in this case, because it's only a small part, I prefer the scale. What you can also do, of course, is edit, transform, and content aware scale. So you have all these different options. Just choose what you like. But in my case, I will make the marquee just a little bit bigger again, and I will just drag the problem out. Now some of you guys will probably go like, why don't you crop? Well, if you crop, the problem is that all your images will have a slightly different dimension. Now here you go like, yeah, but you can lock the crop. That sounds really cool. So let me look at it, and of course you can. So let's say I want to crop. Okay, let's first do this. There we go. Let's say I want to crop and I want to keep my ratio. So I want to keep the original ratio. Now I start cropping. Oops. Now I lose the top of her head. Don't like that. Okay. Let's move it up. Oops. Now I lose part of her hands. Don't like that too. And there's no easy way around it. This is a puzzle you can never solve because you keep the original aspect ratio. Now by doing what I just did, I keep my original aspect ratio, I keep the way I shot it, and the image looks pretty nice. So that's a way better solution, I think. Okay. So let's do select. Sorry, let's go back here. Now, in my heart, I love analog photography. I do a lot of digital photography, of course, but I still love analog photography. And that's why I always tint my images. Now, in the past, I used a lot of DxO Film Pack, which I still love. But I think with the latest update to Alien Skin Exposure X, they really hit the nail on the head. This is, at the moment, next to DxO Film Pack, my favorite way of tinting my images. And again, DxO Film Pack is great, but I just like this a little bit better. And by the way, DxO just released their new DxO Optics 11. If you really do a lot of fashion and street photography and travel or whatever kind of photography you do, check out their new DxO Optics 11 because that is awesome. Okay, so
what I'm now doing is actually what I always say, the clickety-click until I see what I like idea, where I just go through my presets, which you can buy online, by the way, for €7.50, and I will see what I like. Now, as soon as I see one that I like, now I hover over them. As soon as I see what I like, I will actually click on it. And now it makes it active. And now I can go through the other ones. No, I don't like that one. I actually love this one. Now I can check before and after. And this is where my BenQ monitor comes in. If I now look at my BenQ and my Cintiq, I hardly see any difference. So the Cintiq is really good with color. But as soon as it starts getting a little bit more in the shadows, I still find that my BenQ gives a little bit better image. So still use my BenQ as my main reference monitor. But working on the Cintiq again, it's awesome. I only have it for 2 days here now and I'm already in love and I don't want to go back. So I think I'm going to move and just take the Cintiq with me. So they can't find me anymore in a week. Okay. So it's now on top of my original. I always check if there's nothing blowing out here in the whites, just to make sure. I just click, and it's okay. It's not really blowing out. It's fine. Otherwise, you can make another layer and just paint those back. I absolutely love this. I only want to give this bow tie a little bit more red and the top a little bit more red. Now, the fun thing is, and a lot of people don't know this, and that always struck me as weird because it was one of the first things I used when I did Photoshop, is under your dots and burn tool. Okay, there's actually a sponge tool, and one of the options is saturate. Now let's go all the way. Let's go to, no, not all the way. Let's go to 63%. Now what I do is I saturate these areas, and I don't mind if they blow out a little bit. I just love them real bold. Same here, and that really makes it come alive. Wow, love it. Now these areas here I want a little bit more enhanced, so what I will do is I will change my sponge tool to the dots tool and put it on highlights and just pull this down, otherwise you won't like the results, and just for the fun of it make a new layer. Okay, you're gonna make the brush a little bit smaller and only go over the highlights very, very gently. Don't do it a lot, just a little bit. There you go. You can also do it over here. Now it looks like I don't do a lot, and that's the nice thing, because as soon as I take it out, you see the difference. And this really makes the difference between an image that I really love and an image where I go like, yeah, okay. Okay, so layer, flatten image, and file, close. And save. Okay, now let's go back to capture one for the image you just saw me shooting from Ingrid. So here's capture one, and here we have the image that we choose. Ingrid, this is the one we chose. You like it?
Yeah.
Awesome. I like it too. Otherwise I wouldn't have chosen it, of course. Okay, let's open up the shadows just a little bit because I want that same surreal look here. There we go. And go into Photoshop. I'm going to show you different techniques for the backgrounds. Now these backgrounds aren't that bad, but sometimes you have these backgrounds with all these wrinkles and well, they look really nasty, like over here, and you can clone it out, but it just doesn't look right. And again, you can crop this, but we don't like cropping. We do it the hard way. So let's go -1 and pick the marquee tool again, select, edit, transform scale, and just drag it out. There we go. Do the same thing over here. Oh, sorry. Apply. Do the same thing over here. And if you hit something from your model, just move it out. Edit, transform, scale. There we go. Press OK, apply. Select, deselect. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure that the background is nice and even. I really want that shiny poppy look. So you can do this many different ways, but I found that this is the most easy one. Create a duplicate background layer and take your Harry Potter stick or your magic wand, as some people will call it. Most people will call it like that. Okay, hold the shift key and select everything around your model. And this can be very rough. The most important thing is don't include anything from your model. So you can
leave a little bit around here, that doesn't matter, but don't include anything from your model. So no hairs, no clothing, nothing. If I say nothing, I really mean absolutely nothing. Okay, this is pretty cool. Now to switch over and check, go to Quick Mask. You can very quickly see you didn't include anything of the model, Frank, so you're fine. Okay, do a little bit of feathering, select, modify, feather, and don't do it too much. Oh, my feathering is still on my second screen. One moment, there we go. And do this on maybe 4 pixels, not more. There we go. So now I have a nice, even, soft solution. So select inverse, and what I'm now going to do is cut my model. There we go. Now I have this layer with only my background and no model. The model is still underneath. Now if I want to blur this background, I'm literally going to blur the background. Filter, blur, Gaussian. And I'm just going to blur it enough to take away all the unevenness on the background. There we go. Don't do it too much, because you still want to know it's a background. Like if you do all blast, it just doesn't look right. It has to be a little bit of an organic background still. There we go. Press OK. Now on the blue background, you won't see it that much, but even if I zoom in, I already see it here. You see these, yeah, sometimes I call them Newton rings, and that isn't the correct term, but you can see it here. It's like, and probably on YouTube you can see it much better, but everything will look like this because it's compression. But you see these little bands over here, and you see that sometimes also when you shoot on a camera with JPEG and you have a clear blue sky, you see these artifacts. Now how do you take these artifacts out? There's a very simple solution for it. Go to Filter, go to Noise, and just add noise. Now don't do it like this. Yeah, they're gone, but it doesn't look right. Go to 0.10 and they're already gone. Now I hope you can see this online. If I turn it off, you can see it. If I turn it on, it's gone. So that's very, very nice. I always raise it to about 1% because that equals about the noise that I have in my camera sensor. And press OK. Now why is that important? Because I didn't do a clean selection. So I want to make sure that the noise actually blends in over here. So it makes a really nice transition. Now the model looks crazy, right? She looks like she's straight out of a sci-fi movie that had very cheap effects, because this looks terrible. So how do we get the model back? Very simple. We save the model, of course. So we do Edit, Paste Special into place. There we go. That looks a lot better. Now she's real again. Boom, like magic. Okay, now we do a layer flatten image. Now a lot of people will say, don't ever flatten your images because, well, why? I know exactly my workflow. I know when I do something wrong. I know when I do something right. And I know that at that time I can always bring my image back. And I don't spend a lot of time in Photoshop during this retouching. So if I do something really wrong, I'm faster by just flattening my images on most shots. And then if I do something wrong, just start over, then creating all these different folders over here with all these different layer masks, and it just confuses the heck out of me. Now, one of the things that's really cool about Imagenomic is you can run an action. This is the portrait smooth action I created, and what it actually does, it duplicates my current layer, it runs portraiture on the last settings, it selects the background copy, and it makes my layer mask. This saves me so much time. I just click on it, I click play, and it just runs in the background. There we go. And it creates my layer mask. The only thing I have to do is go into 100%, take a brush, and make sure that the brush is, of course, on white. And it's the proper size. And just take away some of the colors in her skin. And again, I don't use this to take away pores. That's what I do with the healing brush. I just flatten the tones of her skin a little bit. And that's what good skin retouching should do. Just flatten the colors of the skin. Make sure that it blends in nicely. You don't want to make her a Barbie doll. Unless, of course, that's the idea of the whole photo shoot. Then you make her a Barbie doll. Okay, there we go. And if you mess up, by the way, just tell your client it was intended that way. Always works with black and white. If you really mess a shot up, make it black and white, add a lot of noise and contrast, and you have instant art. Okay, there we go.
Okay, do a layer flatten image. Now the only thing I have to do is do the healing brush. And you see that I mix up the order in which I do it. It's just, it doesn't matter in which order I do it as long as I do it every single shot. So make the brush just a little bit smaller. Here we go. Select and do the skin retouching. Now some people will use the automatic healing brush. I don't like it that much because I want to make sure that I know where I pick my detail. And again, working on the Cintiq like this is so much better than doing it the old way. There you go. I'm a little bit sloppy over here, sorry for that guys. But you get the idea. You see that skin retouching shouldn't take you all day. And of course, some people will say, yeah, but if it's for a magazine, I want to make it more smooth. Do realize we're shooting with 42 megapixel files. If you shoot for a magazine, trust me, this will look smooth as a baby. For the very simple reason, the quality of a magazine isn't that much as the quality I'm shooting this on. So let me put it this way. If I go to this will approximately be how you see it in print. This is about an A4. So yeah, no need to do it all in detail, of course. But if you want to do it, be my guest. Some people love to spend hours after in Photoshop, and I sometimes do that too. Okay, so let's make this bow tie stand out a little bit more again. So take that dodge tool and just go over it. There we go. Same on the head. And of course a little bit here, maybe on the sides. I feel like Bob Ross. For you youngsters who don't know Bob Ross, find him on YouTube. After Digital Classroom, of course. Don't go, you don't have a hall pass. It's always nice to do this on the belt. Okay, a little bit on her face. Now, if I would really be Bob Ross, I would now be talking about a squirrel that lives inside her hair, but we don't want to go there. Really nice. Okay, go into filters, and again, all my images I want that tint on. Like the image I see now, it's okay, but I still always like to tint those images because I want to give it a little bit more of a me feel. Now, if you see the difference, I just love this. The only thing I need to do is protect my highlights. And that's the cool thing about alien skin. I can actually change my highlights over here. And I can do the same thing, of course, for my clarity, which has to go down a little bit. And maybe I want a little bit more shadow detail. And this is actually, when I'm doing this, I'm actually looking at both the Cintiq and my BenQ to make sure that I don't blow out any details. Both are, of course, calibrated. But I want to make sure that I keep that fine detail in the whites. There we go, looks pretty nice. Awesome. And press apply. Now don't mind the softbox here, I like that, it gives it a little bit of a funky feeling for me. Okay, so layer, flatten image, and file, close. And we're gonna do the next photo shoot after, of course, a little commercial. And I think we're gonna show you guys the commercial we shot for Schloss Wocklum, where I will be with Nadine doing a workshop very, very soon. So let's go to Schloss Wocklum, and there we go. Hey guys, my name is Frank Doorhof, and this is our crazy stylist and awesome model Nadine. Now on, what was it again? July 3rd, right? We do so many workshops. But this is a special one. July 3rd will be in Germany, in Schloss Wocklum. That's very near to Dortmund. And the workshop will be in English. Don't worry, I'm not going to speak only German. I can speak a little bit German. You can speak a lot German, right? Ambition. She can speak ambition German. And I can speak a little bit, so don't worry. We'll have some fun. And of course we'll have bratwurst. Currywurst, yes, that will be no problem at all. Now serious, this workshop will be awesome. We'll be working on location in a great castle. We'll be doing lighting, we'll be doing coaching the model. I will teach you all kinds of stuff for workflow. Nadine will talk about styling, and of course, when you work with Nadine, there's awesome styling. Dresses, crazy hairdos, And of course Nadine is, I think, one of the most talented stylists out there, but also a great model with her expressions. So if you want to work on your portfolio and you want to learn a lot about model photography, this is the workshop for you. July 3rd, Slochtwocklum, that's very near to Dortmund, and I won't speak any German, I promise.
Misschien 30 online.
Hey guys, my name is Frank Doorhof and today I'm very proud to introduce a new Rogue Expo imaging product. Now, if you follow my work, you know that when I work with small flash, I love the Rogue flash benders. They're awesome, they're very easy to transport, they're really flat so they can fit on your case very easily, and you can create strip lights with grids, you can create softboxes, you can even create a snoot, and it's all very, very easy to do. Now, the only thing is, the original surface of the flash bender is white. Now there's nothing wrong with white, it gives you beautiful, beautiful soft image quality, even with a small surface, which you use with small flash. But I love to do a little bit more contrast in my images. So I normally use the silver inlay. Now the problem with the silver inlay, you have to carry it with you, you have to attach it to the flash bender, which makes bending a little bit more hard. So I just asked them and I said, you know guys, can you create a flash bender that has all the quality of the silver one, but a little bit softer? And it went like, yeah, of course we can do that, because it's a company that actually listens to photographers. And they created this amazing new flash bender. It's a new surface. It's a cross between white and silver, and they call it soft silver. And the cool thing is, because I helped them out with it, they actually gave it my name. So this is the Frank Doorhof Signature Series flash bender. Now it's the great flash bender too, so that means it's lighter, you can bend it more easily, it's more stiffer in the sides, and it's still very easy to connect to your strobe. The cool thing, however, is this new surface called soft silver actually gives you the qualities of silver, meaning more light output, more contrast, but it also gives you the quality of white, meaning slightly softer light than silver. And it's only one flash bender. So I think this one, it already makes my images pop, and I'm sure it will also make your images pop. So check them out, the new flash bender 2, Frank Doorhof with soft silver, to also make your images pop. And we're back. Now you saw that new flash bender, right? We were planning on showing you that today. Yeah, but the weather didn't cooperate with us. So for the final setup, we used something called snake skin. Now don't worry, we didn't kill a snake. It's paper, it's wallpaper, and this is the fun part. Backgrounds shouldn't be expensive, or doesn't need to be expensive. In our next digital classroom, we will actually be showing you guys, of course, the outside locations, if the weather is okay, and otherwise, as a backup, we're gonna build some small sets. So, snakeskin, model. Model in front of snakeskin. And of course we think about styling also a little bit, so we have to have contrasting colors. If you have a gray background and you have a gray model in front of it, that doesn't look really nice. So you want to make sure that the model stands out. So in this case, wow, you stand out. That's awesome. Now of course I can do the model really close to the background and put my light on it, but I can also ask my model to step a few steps forward and create a certain sense of backlighting on the background without using two strobes, so only using one. So can you come a little bit closer? Very nice. So let's raise this to get it a little bit more up and aiming down. Now normally in the studio I can see exactly what I'm doing, for the very simple reason all the lights are off. Now we have a lot of the LED goes on, so yeah, we have a lot of light now, so I can't see what I'm doing. So I have to take a test shot. And well, I think this is going to be pretty interesting. So my light meter now tells me I'm on f16.2. Let's go to f16. 1, 2. And again, I have a remote control inside my light meter, so don't start shouting at your strobes at home. It won't work. There we go, f16. So I'm going to grab the camera. And let's see how this looks. And I think it will look awesome. Because how can you make a wrong picture from Ingrid? Right? Always be nice to your model, even if you don't like them. And I do love Ingrid, of course. She knows. Okay, Steffi, can you please give me a little bit slack of the cable? There we go. Okay, go to F16. Okay, very nice. And of course we have the power on the Skyport. There we go. I love it. And I think I'm pretty right with my lighting. There we go. Absolutely love the contrast. Now if any we can move just a little bit so I can see my monitor. Very cool. I love that dark look. She really jumps out. Now a lot of people ask me, why do you shoot so much landscape? And in all honesty, I don't know. But it just looks better. When I look at my old portfolio material, a lot of it was shot in portrait mode, so standing up. And then something's changed. And during the years, I started shooting more and more in landscape mode. Now I will show you the difference very quickly. If I shoot this in portrait mode, it will look like this. Now I do agree there's a lot more model here. So you see a lot more from the model. But I also think that the image looks a little bit about the model. And of course it is about the model, but I also want to tell that story. I want to have a little bit more engagement in the shot. So when I shoot it landscape, and I place my model a little bit more to the side, I get a way more interesting composition. And I really like this. Now when you shoot for magazines, this is often a problem because they want images that stand up. So you have to figure that out for yourself. Or maybe shoot two underneath each other or do a double spread or, well, it's your work. I can do whatever I want because I do digital classroom. Okay, really nice. Cool. Keep it that way. Nice. Awesome. Cool. Now, I have to tell you guys something, and this is really nice. In the past, you saw me a lot of doing this. You saw me focusing, making the composition. Focusing, making the composition. Focusing, making the composition. Now, I use a new lens from Sony. This is the G Master. Looks cool, right? G Master. It's the G Master FA 2.8 24-70 GM. That's a mouthful. I always call it the 24-70 2.8. But it's a G Master, and what does that mean? It has absolute perfect image quality. Well, perfect, what is perfect? And I have to tell you, this is a pretty good lens. It's not cheap, but it's pretty good. It's better than most primes. And it's a zoom. The fun thing is, something works with this lens that doesn't work with a lot of other lenses yet. You can press the OK key, and it will find the eyes of the model. This is awesome during a photo shoot because now I can make my composition, press the OK key, and the camera will find the eyes of the model, focus on the eyes, and then I don't need to do my focusing, recomposition. Now here are some of you guys going like, Frank, come on. You can choose a focus point, right? You can. But if you choose a focus point, you're always stuck to that composition. I do a lot of portfolio reviews, and I almost can always see if somebody uses center focus, like I do, and we did actually, the older photographers do the same thing. Because in the old days when you shot film, there were no focus points. The only thing you have to do is focus in the center, make your composition, because in the center there was the only focus option. So when you do that, you are very free with your composition. You can go whatever way you want. If you choose a fixed focus point, you will always shoot the eyes of the model in that position. And of course you will say, yeah, but I can change that point. Come on guys, we're all lazy. We don't do that stuff, right? If I see a trash can outside and it doesn't bother me, I will just step over it. And after a week will go like, why didn't you take out the trash? Didn't bother me. Nah, I'm just kidding with you guys. So anyway, so make sure you use that center focus point and make your composition so you're more stable in your portfolio. So you will have a lot of different options. The other thing that I want to show you, and this is something I'm incredibly happy with, is the new Skyport from Elingram. It's now released also for Sony. I've been working with it for a few weeks and it's absolutely mind-boggling cool. Now, I already worked with the Canon version because I did some instructional videos for them. And what the high-speed system, the high-sync system actually does is it makes it possible to shoot on higher shutter speeds. So for example, up to 1/8000th of a second. Now normally that would mean that that didn't work with studio strobes for the very simple reason there's a barrier on 125th of a second, and otherwise you have those annoying black bars or the whole image will be black because it's your shutter curtain, right? Now if you go to small flash, you could always use an option called high speed sync, where it actually strobes and makes sure that you can shoot on higher shutter speeds. Now, of course, a studio strobe can't strobe. What it does, it uses a very slow flash duration. Like, for example, the HS heads, they will shoot on 1/600th of a second. By using that slower that slower flash duration, it makes it possible to shoot on much higher shutter speeds. Now comes the kicker. You can't trust your light meter anymore. I know. Take a moment of silence. That's more than enough. You can't trust the light meter anymore. Now, why can't you trust the light meter? Imagine this. If you have 1/600th of a second for f/16, and you cut that to 1,000th of a second, you don't have the 1/600th anymore. So you're cutting the strobe earlier, meaning you lose light. If you go to 1/2000th of a second and you need 1/600th to get to f/16, you cut the strobe even shorter. So that means the higher you get your shutter speed, the lower the output of the strobe will appear on your camera. If you use a light meter, it will still say f/16. But if you start shooting it, it will get lower and lower in output. We actually tried it out and we came at, I believe, f/22 on ISO 100 on 125th. And as soon as we reached about 1/8000th of a second, we were down to 2.8 ISO 400. So nowadays with these systems, it's a blessing that you can shoot on a much higher shutter speed outside, but you have to wing it a little bit. You have to go like, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, I will see. So also instruct your clients about that. So that was available for Canon, oops, that will be my best shot ever. That was available for Canon and Nikon. It's a little bit depressed, Anouk. It's totally black. That's because there's no light over there. So that was available for Canon and Nikon. And the Sony guys, like me, we had to wait for a little bit. And now it's available for Sony. You can do the high sync stuff. You can do the ODS settings, which is very important, but I won't go into that in Digital Classroom unless you guys want it. Then I will do a separate episode about that. And you can do all the settings. You can read your strobes, you can change the output. Everything works the same as on the Canon and Nikon system. There's one difference, and this I want to stress. If you have a Sony camera, and you know this problem probably, but if you don't blame Alengrom. Sony is a great camera. There's only one problem, and that's with smart triggers. If you use the Sony with a dumb trigger, like a Pocket Wizard or the old Skyports, so the triggers that don't communicate with your camera, they will fire the strobes immediately. So you press this, and boom, there goes the strobes. If you use a smart trigger on some Sony cameras, like the A7R II I'm holding here, there will be a slight delay. Now that's with the Odin system from Photix, which I use. It's also with the Sony system itself, and it's also with the Alengrom Skyport. So don't blame the Alengrom Skyport for it, it's in the camera. So email Sony about it. Guys, come on, fix this. And it's not a big delay, but I think in the studio it's manageable. If you want to do jump shots, I will actually take off this Skyport and I will put on an old Skyport for the very simple reason the delay is too much to time. So we don't want to do that. Are you ready for a jump? No, of course not. Can you do a little bit with your glasses? Love it. Very cool. Nice. Awesome. Great shots. Nice. Okay, a little bit of expression. Cool. Big screen, 1, 2, 3, go. Awesome. Now, don't forget, we have that wide angle lens option. That's why I love working with zooms. I have a 70mm, which I was shooting now on, but I also have a 24. So if I go really close to my model, I can actually do some funky stuff when I use the display on the back. I can go on a really high angle. Can you look straight into the camera? And point towards the camera and make a big screen. 1, 2, 3, go. And this gives you a totally different look of a model. Now, if a model doesn't like it, don't do it. But just tell your model, you look fine, it's awesome. And they will probably believe you. And if they see the image, they will probably also love it. Okay, guys, so it's almost time. Are there any questions, Menno, in between? No? Okay, I think we lost some viewers due to the reconnection of the stream, but we still have a lot of viewers online. So I think this Digital Classroom didn't have a lot of questions. Okay, thank you so very much for watching. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to retouch some of the images from Ingrid, but I'm going to do that after the Digital Classroom, and I'm going to put them online for you guys on social media so you can see them. And I will put them in the notes on YouTube as soon as this goes online. But first, one more thing. If you want to know a lot more about model photography, go on my website, frankdoorhof.com, and you can find instructional videos. They go in much more in depth, and they're really cool to watch. And we overload those with information and tips. And I wrote a book, and my son is actually bringing it to me. And don't worry, it's also in smaller versions. It's called Mastering the Model Shoot. Now, Scott Kelby helped me with the book to write it, and I have to tell you, when you do something with Scott Kelby, it's awesome. And I'm very proud that the book actually went bestseller on Amazon. So I'm very proud of the book. So if you want to know more about model photography, check this out. The other thing I want to point out to you guys is, if you like what we do, we give you all this stuff for free. We have Digital Classroom, quite frankly. The Doorhof is always open. We do a lot of social media posts. If you like it, head on over to a website called Patreon. And go to patreon.com/frankdoorhof. What you can do, see it as a tip jar. If you like what we do, you can give us $1 a month, or 5, or 10, or 15, or 20, or whatever you want to do. And we give you something back, of course. It's not just give, we give you something back. Now, if you go on Patreon, you see the different options. And it ends with actually a one-on-one Skype call, portfolio reviews, you get images, and a lot more. So check out Patreon, because thanks to Patreon and our sponsors BenQ and Rogue, makes it possible for us to do these broadcasts. For now, I thank you very much. And, well, sorry we didn't do the outside shots, but I think we did it pretty well with inside. And thanks to Ingrid, and of course our team, Menno, and Steffi, Brian, and Anouk, and myself. And
Thank you.
oh, people say thank you. That's very nice. And we'll see you next time on Digital Classroom. So Menno, you can now stop the